Most men I meet in their 60s and beyond share a similar belief that slowing down or even completely stopping masturbation is not only harmless, but a sign of maturity. They tell themselves, that part of my life is behind me, or, I don't need it anymore. Some see it as unnecessary, others as inappropriate for their age. But here's the truth very few talk about: your body doesn't just shrug and move on when you stop. It responds. And often, those responses aren't ones you'd expect. They can be subtle at first: a little less energy in the mornings, a bit more stiffness in your hips, nights where sleep feels lighter and less refreshing. You might chalk it up to just getting older, yet in my decades of working with men, I've seen clear patterns. When you completely remove this natural function, you can trigger changes in circulation, hormone levels, muscle tone, mood, and even cognitive sharpness. It's not about morality or habit, it's about biology. The real question is not whether you can stop. It's whether you understand what's likely to happen if you do, and whether that's the trade-off you're willing to make. And to see it clearly, we first need to step into the life of a man who made that choice years ago. Let me introduce you to Robert. He's 68, retired, and living in a quiet neighborhood just outside of Phoenix. Most mornings, he wakes up early, makes himself a cup of coffee, and reads the news on his tablet. He keeps his yard tidy, takes short walks, and occasionally plays cards with his friends. About 8 years ago, Robert decided to stop masturbating. It wasn't a dramatic decision, there was no health scare, no moral struggle. It just faded out of his routine. He thought, I'm getting older, I don't need this anymore. For the first year or two, he noticed no difference. Life moved on as usual. But then, the small changes began to creep in. His energy in the mornings wasn't what it used to be. His sleep became lighter, waking up 2 or 3 times a night for no clear reason. On cooler days, his hips and thighs felt stiff and slow to warm up. He also found himself less interested in activities he used to enjoy, almost as if the spark in his daily life had dimmed. Robert assumed it was just the natural process of aging. But when I met him, it was clear his body had been adjusting to the absence of something it had relied on for decades: the physical and hormonal effects of regular sexual stimulation. And this isn't just Robert's story. I've seen it over and over again in my practice: men who stop completely, only to experience changes they never connected to that choice. Which brings me to why I speak about this openly. I'm Dr. Katherine Rocker, and for over 30 years, I've worked with men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s, men from all walks of life. Some are former athletes. Some are retired servicemen. Some have spent decades in offices or building businesses. But they all share one goal: to keep their bodies and minds working as well as possible for as long as possible. In that time, I've learned that sexual health is not an isolated topic. It's deeply connected to circulation, hormone balance, muscle strength, mental focus, and even emotional resilience. Yet, when it comes to masturbation, most men either don't think about it or avoid talking about it altogether. I often hear phrases like, "I just don't need it anymore," or "I thought stopping would help me save energy." But what they don't realize is that their bodies are biologically designed to benefit from periodic sexual stimulation, and when it disappears completely, certain systems can begin to weaken. My purpose today is not to convince you to do something you're uncomfortable with. It's to explain, clearly and scientifically, what happens when you stop entirely, so you can make an informed decision about whether it's helping or hurting your long-term health. And that starts with understanding exactly how the male body changes after 60, and why those changes make this topic more important than most men realize. By the time you reach your 60s, your body has gone through decades of gradual shifts. Some are easy to see: graying hair, slower recovery after exercise, changes in skin elasticity. Others are invisible but deeply influential, especially when it comes to sexual health and overall vitality. First, testosterone production naturally declines. This isn't just about sexual desire. Testosterone plays a key role in muscle mass, bone density, mood stability, energy production, and even cognitive sharpness. Lower levels can mean slower recovery after physical activity, reduced motivation, and a general sense of fatigue. Second, circulation to the pelvic region decreases. The blood vessels that supply oxygen and nutrients to the pelvic muscles and tissues work best when they're regularly challenged. Sexual arousal acts like a workout for this system, keeping vessels elastic and responsive. Without that stimulus, circulation can weaken, and tissues can lose flexibility. Third, nerve sensitivity changes. Some men experience reduced sensation, while others find certain areas more sensitive than before. Either way, the feedback loop between your brain and body shifts, influencing arousal and the satisfaction of release. Finally, sexual activity, whether with a partner or alone, stimulates the release of neurotransmitters like dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. These chemicals regulate mood, help manage stress, and improve sleep quality. Remove that natural trigger, and your emotional and sleep patterns may change without you realizing why. These biological shifts don't mean you can't enjoy a healthy, active life. But they do mean that removing sexual stimulation entirely can accelerate certain declines. Next, let's look at the first and most immediate effect I often see when men stop completely: changes in pelvic blood vessel health and circulation. One of my patients, John, was 71 when he came to see me. He had been in generally good health, he walked daily, ate reasonably well, and kept up with his regular checkups. But he had one concern he couldn't explain. Over the past few years, he'd noticed a constant coolness and occasional numbness in his hips, thighs, and lower back. When I reviewed his history, I learned that John had stopped all sexual activity, including masturbation, almost a decade earlier. At the time, he thought it was just a natural part of aging. But what he didn't realize is that sexual arousal acts like a mini workout for the blood vessels in the pelvic region. It increases blood flow, stretches the vessel walls, and keeps the tissues well oxygenated. Without that stimulus, the vessels can slowly lose elasticity, just like an unused muscle begins to weaken. Over time, this can lead to less efficient circulation, not only affecting sexual performance, but also contributing to muscle stiffness, slower walking speed, and even discomfort when sitting for long periods. In John's case, we worked on reintroducing gentle, regular stimulation, focusing first on building arousal and improving blood flow before worrying about release. Within a few months, he reported warmer legs, less stiffness, and better overall comfort during daily activities. Pelvic circulation is only one piece of the puzzle. The next major effect of stopping completely shows up in a different but equally important area: your hormone levels, especially testosterone. Walter, age 69, came to my clinic with a complaint I hear often: "Doc, I'm tired all the time. I'm not sick, but I feel like my battery never fully charges." He'd also noticed his muscles felt softer, his grip weaker, and his motivation to work on projects around the house had faded. When we ran his labs, his testosterone levels were significantly lower than the average for his age. A gradual decline is expected in every man's life, but Walter's drop had been unusually steep over the past 5 years. It didn't take long to connect the dots. He had completely stopped all sexual activity, including masturbation, during that time. Here's why that matters. Sexual arousal and orgasm trigger short bursts of testosterone and other growth-related hormones. While these boosts are temporary, they send a signal to the body to maintain healthier baseline levels. When you remove that stimulus entirely, the body has one less reason to keep hormone production strong, and levels can fall faster. Low testosterone isn't just about sexual function. It affects muscle strength, bone density, mood stability, and cognitive sharpness. It's one of the reasons some men feel a deep, lingering fatigue or lose interest in activities they once enjoyed. For Walter, the solution wasn't extreme. We reintroduced stimulation in a controlled, mindful way and paired it with resistance training and nutrition tailored to hormone health. Within 3 months, he reported better morning energy, improved workout performance, and a return of the drive he thought was gone for good. But hormones aren't the only system affected when you stop completely. The next consequence touches a different part of your life, your mental health and your ability to rest deeply at night. Frank, age 73, had been widowed for several years. After his wife passed, he quietly stopped all sexual activity, including masturbation. At first, it didn't seem to make much difference. He stayed busy with friends, gardening, and reading. But over time, he noticed something was off. He was quicker to lose patience, even over small things. Some evenings, he felt restless and tense without knowing why. And when it came time to sleep, his nights were lighter and more fragmented. Even if he stayed in bed for 8 hours, he woke feeling less refreshed. What Frank didn't realize is that sexual stimulation plays a powerful role in regulating the brain's chemistry. During arousal and orgasm, your body releases dopamine, for motivation and pleasure, oxytocin, for relaxation and connection, and endorphins, for stress relief and pain reduction. These chemicals don't just make you feel good in the moment, they help calm the nervous system, making it easier to fall into deep, restorative sleep. When you remove that stimulus completely, your body loses one of its natural tools for regulating mood and promoting rest. Stress can build more easily, mood swings become more common, and the quality of your sleep can slowly erode. In Frank's case, we took a gradual approach. We combined gentle reintroduction of sexual stimulation with evening breathing exercises and a consistent bedtime routine. Within a few weeks, his mood began to lift, and he was sleeping more deeply, waking with more patience and steady energy. And that brings us to the most important part of this discussion, understanding what all of this means for you, and how you can use this knowledge to protect your vitality as you age. Here's what I want you to take away from this conversation. Masturbation in older age isn't just a private habit, it can be a quiet, natural way to help maintain your circulation, hormone balance, emotional stability, and quality of sleep. When you stop completely, your body adapts. But that adaptation often comes at a cost: weaker blood flow to the pelvic region, a steeper drop in testosterone, and fewer of the brain chemicals that keep you calm, focused, and well-rested. This is not about pressure or shame. It's about giving you the information no one talks about, so you can decide what works for your health and your life. Even small, mindful reintroductions can make a difference, helping you feel more alive, more connected to yourself, and more ready to enjoy the years ahead. So here's my challenge to you: pay attention to your body over the next week. Notice your energy in the mornings, your mood throughout the day, and how deeply you sleep at night. If you see signs of decline and you've stopped completely, experiment with bringing it back in a way that feels comfortable and balanced. Your body is still capable of pleasure, strength, and renewal. Treat it with respect, keep it engaged, and it will reward you with more energy, more stability, and a better quality of life, no matter your age.